Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of Junior Talks, proudly brought to you by the network. Now, before we introduce our first guest, a little bit of background. I've been known to talk quite a lot around town. Some people might even call me a bit of a yapper. And over the past 3 years here in San Andreas, I've met a hell of a lot of people from all walks of life. Some good, some kind of questionable, and some completely unhinged. And what I want to do with this podcast is sit down with those people and get to know them beyond the day-to-day conversations and the usual nonsense we all get caught up in. I want to understand who they really are, what shaped them, and how they became the person they are today, which brings me to our first guest, Sergeant Dee LinQ. Dee, how are you doing today?
Well, brother, I'm good.
So, Dee, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
What do you want to know?
Okay, so I guess for the people who don't know you, you've been in Los Santos for probably, near enough 2 years now. So let's take it back to when you stepped off that flight and what really brought you to San Andreas in the first place.
I guess my first day in the city, for those that have been around, I guess it was around the time people were going around and campaigning to be the first sheriff. It was Cornwood versus Bones and Cassidy, I believe. I wanted to be a police officer, and they gave me some money to go around campaigning for them. So I did that, put my application in to become a police officer, and they said, yeah, you might hear from us in 12 weeks. And that's a might, but don't expect it. So that put a big obstacle in my path. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. Oh, fuck. Shit, okay. 12 weeks is a long time. I think I put a lemon list ad up. Oh, I think it was Yellow Pages back then.
Yeah, it would have been Yellow Pages before the change.
Yeah, I put a Yellow Pages ad up just saying, hey, new to town, anyone got any work? And actually, Mr. Paps actually called me, paid me some money to drop some of Paps, the podcast, was it Paps Talks or Paps Media? Where he'd interviewed Cornwood, I believe, and he paid me to go around town handing them out to people. You know, a bit like being a bit like a flyer boy, you know. And that's how I started to get no paps.
And this is all on your first few days in town, right?
Yeah, probably first 2 days.
Did you meet anyone else over those couple of days?
I think I met you on my third or second day too, Junior, actually, and a guy called Fixer and two ladies, one called Autumn Perry, who's my sister, my little big sister, and then another lady. Oh my God, my brain's got Maddie. Oof. We cut the figure there, I guess.
You still in touch with Maddie now?
I see Maddie Trejo occasionally. I don't think she's too pleased with my new line of work. So yeah, we don't really speak as much. You know me, guys. I'm not really one that texts and calls and all that. You know what I mean?
I wanna skip forward a little bit. You're someone who's not too dissimilar to me in the sense of you've lived quite a few lives, but in your time in San Andreas, I think it's fair to say. So I want to start off. I guess your first life, and technically speaking, my first life is starting off on the streets slinging bags of weed. So what was kind of that period of time in your life like?
I was working the news for Earl, learning my craft, reporting on the local stories for a week or so, and as I became quite the renowned reporter within Los Santos, I don't know, I just need a little something else. You know, I had an itch, Junior, that the news wasn't quite scratching, you know? And I'm going to be honest, Junior, I was going to stay straight and narrow for those 12 weeks and hopefully try and get an interview with the police. But I was at a crossroads in life, right? I had made some more pals. Some pals were up to no good. Some pals were not. Some people were not breaking the law. Some were. But like I said, I was at a crossroads and I didn't really know how to choose what to do with my life. So, Junior, I'll be honest with you, I just rolled a fucking dice and went with whatever the dice told me to do. That dice said, hey, D, I think you'd be good at selling some weed. So I went down that path and met some of the the British lot down on Grove, you know, that famous one, SC, you know.
Haha. Let's talk about that experience a bit. So what was, going from, reporting to the news to then, being part of a drug empire like? How did you find that, changing lifestyle?
Well, I don't know if I was part of it. I was a cog in it. You know, like if it was a car, I was more like a wind wiper than something inside the vehicle. You know what I mean?
They all play important parts in the, in how the car works, though, right, Dee?
Oh yeah. But like it's much easier to replace a wind wiper than your gearbox, right? You know what I mean?
Depends if you have the part.
Yeah, that's true. But back then when I was coming up as a weed slinger, used to used to like do you had to go and deliver it to clients' houses. That was really interesting. Sometimes they get really fucking mad and shoot at you. It was really fucking really scary time. You know, once you'd learnt your craft of, handing off, you learn how to conceal the drug while you're passing it to and from the customer. Once you get to the point of becoming an expert concealing the drug, you then can start to, not to have to go to the client's house because you gain such a reputation and you've built up your line, so to speak. You have the customers come to you. You know what I mean? And at that point, that's when the alley by Covenant enters my life. You know.
And talk to me about some of the personalities you met there. I spent a bit of time down there myself, and you definitely met some interesting folks as your time went on.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting people down there. There's some stuff went on during that period of my life that I don't really ever talk about. I don't think I ever will talk about it in terms of putting it out there. Lots of people put trust in me, and they never betray me. And I would never, obviously, unless my job called for it, I would never really talk about that stuff. I guess some of the highlights down there were. I remember John Joyce making me fight Ramon in the garden like a fucking dog, the cheating cunt, Ramon. I remember the first time I got arrested. It was I was driving my Izzy Rally TRT, Shiesty and all them man come running through the block, and I got pit into a wall and ejected and got arrested. I also remember being in the hospital and the Manor Boys. I'm not saying they were trying to save me, but they were sending a message, don't come into our alley, and they were circling the hospital, coming in and out. I think it was Kai, Antov, probably SK, probably Terry back then. This is like, we're talking fucking over 2 years ago now, so,
Yeah,
get in trouble for that stuff.
Moving on from that period of life, what kind of pulled you into the ballers and kind of made you make that next transition into your life?
I'm gonna be honest, I was hanging around the manor in terms of selling weed for them for, I want to say, a little while. And I was, I'm not one that shies away from saying, obviously, when you're in that life, you want an affiliation, right? Because it's much safer. But it wasn't to be for me. They took on a bunch of hang-arounds and whatnot at the time. To be honest, it was like I got to know Andre Tyson, and Andre always looked out for me, no matter what. He used to ring me, let me know stuff he figured out. Like a bit like a big brother, And he asked me a couple of times to join, and I just wasn't ready when they were starting up. I'll be honest. There was some other stuff going on which I was involved in. Again, not going to talk about it because I don't want to betray anyone's trust. That just didn't give me the freedom to help them when they were starting up. But then once that stuff was kind of done, I reached out to Andre and he's like, "Yeah, hell yeah, come hang out, come hang out." And that's when ESB weren't around. It was just KTB. Did you know how ESB and KTB interacted, or?
No, I wasn't aware at the time. I think that was just about when I was sort of entering my politics game, and I was very, sort of zone focused. So feel free to let us know.
Yeah, so I mean, back then there was KTB and ESB, right? And for those that don't know, it's Kilo Trey, and then Eastside Ballers, And ESB were a much more smaller, tight knit group, and KTB was much more extrovert, let's say, And Andre managed to bring them both under one umbrella as the Ballers was the name of the gang. But within the gang, there was a couple of sets, and you had KTB and ESB. But Andre was the overall, This is all known stuff, you know. It's not like I can tell you stuff you don't know. And I was a prospect, and when you was a prospect, you didn't have a set. You belonged to the gang, not to a set. And I'll keep it real. Andre, there was a RICO case on Andre, and he went away.
Can I just stop you there? I've actually got a question from Andre himself. And
go on.
He asked me to say, if Andre never went on the run, how do you think your life would be different now?
Honestly, that's a really hard answer. So it's a really hard answer. And the reason why it's a really hard answer, I obviously know what the Ballers has turned out to be. So that, you know, my life would probably be drastically different. You know, I probably wouldn't have stepped away from the Ballers. In all honesty, I didn't have a reason to. I was working my way up through the rankings slowly. I would say I had a reasonable position for the rank that I was within the organization. I think I was listened to quite a lot, and I probably would still be repping purple. If I'm honest, obviously my life took a change, and I do what I do now, right?
So you're telling me if Andre never went on the run, you'd still be living that criminal lifestyle?
Probably, yeah. Probably, wow. Yeah.
From someone who's known you a long time, being perfectly honest, I didn't expect for you to say something like that. That's really interesting, man.
Well, it's hard, right? You got to think you got to think about how I got to where I am now, right? If Andre hadn't have gone on the run, I wouldn't have probably left Ballers, which means I wouldn't have become a mechanic, which then means I wouldn't have spent that time getting to know all the police officers that I got to know on a personal level outside of being a criminal, right? I wouldn't have spent the time building relationships with them. I definitely wouldn't have got an expungement, you know what I mean? Which then means I wouldn't have even been able to apply to be a police officer. So it's the butterfly effect, right?
Exactly. Now, touching on your mechanic side of things, so what actually changed from, apart from obviously Andre leaving, what changed from you to going, instead of, going to a different crew or, maybe going back to the manor, what made you want to go and be a mechanic after that period of time living that lifestyle?
I got to know a guy. Was it Frank? Is it Frank Rizzo? Is it Frank?
Yeah, I remember Frank from back in I think he did some stuff with the call center donkeys ago.
He did. He used to have VDM motors, remember?
Yeah, I remember.
So I got to know Frank a little bit as just to and from. He used to chase Autumn a lot. He had a thing for Autumn. So I got to know him. He was a mechanic, and he used to just have lots of cool relationships and got to know a lot of people through fixing cars. And I'm like, well, I'm at a crossroad. I could just go back to Manor, and I'll cover that in a minute. Or I could put myself in a situation where I could try and meet some new people. And I thought, you know what, let's try and experience the city through a different set of eyes, a different set of hands, and a different tell myself a different story, you know? Yes, the police officers were doing their job, but I never ever got to know them, you know what I mean? So it was a good opportunity.
So do you feel you being a mechanic was that natural step for you to, I guess, make that relationship, so to speak, with the cops to, I guess, lead towards that next career path change for you?
Yeah, I mean, during my time as a mechanic, I got to know Sean Danielson really well as well. I think he was just a judge back then, but now he's a justice, right? And it was just, I got to know a whole different demographic within the city. People I would never have, to be blunt, ever interacted with unless it was like me being arrested or me going to court. And some people who weren't even working for government, right? Back then, you're walking around in fucking a grey trackie. A lot of people would assume you're not to be spoken to too tough, So it's just I got to experience the city on a different wave,
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I feel I can really relate to that point in the sense of I've lived, just as many lives as you in San Andreas, so to speak, and had a lot of career changes myself. And I feel like doing what I guess both you and I have done, we have probably covered most of the island and got to meet people who, like typically if we stayed in one lane, you would have never got the opportunity to meet or I guess kind of see in a different light, so to speak, right?
No, yeah, totally. I mean, a special mention to my friend Pico. Pico, when I met him, he was a clown. I actually used to be scared of clowns, and he was my first clown friend. And He actually helped me get over that fear. No, I've a good a relationship as a cop can have with clowns. You know what they're like.
Yeah, they're a fun bunch. So after the mechanic things, obviously you ended up, in law enforcement. But I want to speak a little bit about yours and Den's relationship. How would you kind of describe this? I guess.
I jokingly say that Den Shiesty's my PD dada. He's my dad. And Hayley Maxwell, I always jokingly say she's my PD mama. And it's ironic that I'm mixed race. It's kind of funny. My relationship with Den, I look up to him. Is he the perfect cop? Fucking hell, no. He's very far from that. But is he a cop that gets shit done? I don't think there's many like him like that. There's not many like him that can get shit done. People, one thing I've noticed about people in San Andreas, they like to throw the word glaze around a lot. If you got something good to say about someone, I just think it's absolute fucking hogwash. Just because you're giving someone their flowers doesn't mean you're glazing them, right? For me, glazing is when you're maybe saying something that's not true. You're making them sound better than they are. When you're actually just spitting facts, it's just giving someone their flowers, in my opinion. And I don't know many cops who could stand in the middle of fucking Little Soul, Lucky Plucker, say some choice words to the besties and not get fucked up. That to me speaks volumes to the man.
Do you try and emulate this in the way you like to police?
No, me and then a complete. I do. I know why you asked that. I get called that often. You're what's the? I've had the Timu Shiesty, a Shiesty wannabe. I've been told I'm worse than the Shiesty. Me and Den are completely different cops. You got to ask yourself, why are people even comparing us? Really, me and Den are. Is there some similarities between me and Den as police officers? Yeah, but that's the same with every police officer, right? You could say Lucas Miller and Shiesty have similarities, but if you speak to them, they're nothing alike, right?
I think the biggest thing is for me, especially with cops, is that, let's be honest, the majority of the population here, they either work in government, like yourself and are law enforcement, or chances are they're criminals, right? And I think so many people on this island don't necessarily see the human side of someone like you or someone like Den or even someone like Miller, and only see the uniform. And I think that often just having a conversation and getting to know the person would go a long way.
No, I agree. It's tough. Obviously, coming from my background, especially in the early days, some people had opinions. Even still to this day, people bring up, oh, it's the baller cop, which is hilarious. People even make comments like, oh, you only become a cop because you couldn't choose a different gang. But I literally didn't try and join any other gang after I left the ballers. That's not correct. But it has eased off, I would say, the last couple of months where people have been a bit more open to a conversation. There's a few gangsters around the city that have opinions on me. And to be honest, I'd say they're just, some of them. But then you've got the second-hand haters that just hate you because someone else dislikes you, And it's just like, get a fucking grip, you fucking moron.
So I'm just going to stop you there. What are some of these opinions, Dee?
Opinions on me coming from a cop to coming from a criminal to be a cop. Some people have think that that's not valid. You shouldn't do it, right? People will call me a flopper. I'm like, bro, the definition of a flopper is someone who goes from gang to gang to gang. I was in one gang and joined the PD after leaving it. It's quite literally not a flopper. People will call me a rat. I'm like, that's not true. If I was a rat, people would be really fucked up. You know what I mean? They're probably the main ones. Yeah, there's only two. I will say there's probably two criminals that I think can have a real reason to maybe have a disdain towards me, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And who are those people?
One's Flippy. I don't know if Flippy remembers why he feels the way towards me, or if I'll definitely remember this right because I was new to the city. But I didn't know who Flippy was, and that's not because I just was new to the city. I've been in the city fucking 7 days or something like that, and I just got access to a phone listening device, Junior, and I was trying to figure out how it fucking works, what you do with it. I was just playing with it, around senior buns. I tried to listen into a phone call just to see if it would work, and it happened to be Flippy. And obviously he caught me and did what he did, which was whatever. I don't want to comment on that. So obviously he feels away because, like you would, if someone's fucking listening to your call who you don't know, fuck them, right? And back then, many people didn't. I think it was like me, Paps, and maybe two of us that had them back then. So no one really knew what they was,
Yeah, wasn't it was quite the hot commodity, not what it really is nowadays, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think he thought I was a police officer. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not. I was like, no, I am not a police officer. I'm definitely not a police officer. He's like, how can I fucking check out who you am or whatever? I said, look, this isn't me saying I'm affiliated to the manor, but I do sell weed for the manor. So you can at least ask them if I sell weed and, saying that I'm not a fed. I'm not a fucking fed. Please don't fucking shoot me. And then the other one, I'm not even sure we can talk about that one, to be honest. So we might just skip over that one if you don't mind.
Yeah, we can move on if you don't feel comfortable discussing it. When you first joined the I guess the police force as a whole, you joined the LSPD. How was that experience? Probably the best part of a year, right?
What, when I joined, how long have I been in LSPD? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, no. How was the experience when you were in LSPD?
How was the experience when I joined LSPD? So I got asked 3 minutes before the academy started if I wanted to attend. So I rushed there. Academy was great. I think I'm the only officer left from my academy. Getting from cadet to PBO was a struggle. And that was because there was, I can talk about this, it was so long ago. My first day was like crazy. It was insane, like insane. And it kind of come to an end with like doing a raid, one of the biggest raids in the city's history, right? And then that kind of took over the PD doing paperwork and whatever else right afterwards. So I didn't really get. There was a period where sometimes I'd be stood in the kitchen for 8 hours waiting for someone to take me out. And I had to figure out ways to develop myself while I was doing that,
Yeah, I understand that. So obviously you spent a lot of time there and climbed the ranks, but at the moment you're ODPD. So how did you feel after leaving the LSPD, and why did you leave the LSPD?
That's a really good question, Junior. Probably better than you probably even realised. How did I feel when I left LSPD? Mixed emotions is probably the best way of putting it. Obviously, super excited for the new opportunity and to help build the department and stuff like that. Obviously, super exciting. The people over there are amazing. But also, I spent a long time with a lot of people over at LSPD, and we've been through hell and back together, and they've gone to hell and back for me. There was a time I was kidnapped by the besties, and they were going to take me to the chicken factory and start cutting my fingers off, to be blunt. And if it wasn't for LSPD and BCSO finding me and saving me, then I might not have my fingers right now. So mixed. Sad's not the right word because I knew I was going to see. I'm going to still work with them and still see them, right? But it gets a little bit like the only way I think I can describe it. Have you heard of the when someone has their arm chopped off, and they have like a phantom pain, even though they don't have their arm? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Kind of like that. It's like a phantom pain. They're still there, but it's like you kind of miss it a little bit. But I fucking love where I am. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Why did you feel the need to leave?
Why did I feel the need to leave LSPD? I think I left because I believed in what ODPD was going to try and focus on. And I believed that ODPD as a unit could benefit more from my skill set than LSPD.
Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the all of the PDs as a whole in San Andreas at the moment. We've got, technically 4 law enforcement services, and there's been a little bit of, I guess you could say, inter-department clashes between the 4 departments. All I want to know is, do you think the PD structures in the city are working as intended, and do you think they're functioning as they should at the moment?
I guess my comment to that is ODPD is still relatively new. What are we, 2-3 months in? Is that right? 2-3 months?
I'd say about that, yeah.
Right, so we're 2-3 months into establishing a whole new department, right? Just before that, the mandate of the marshals was slightly changed, wasn't it?
Yep, it was.
And you had a new sheriff, didn't we? As well, pretty within that kind of time frame. So you've had the leader of BCSO change. There's been a change to the marshals. Then you've had a new department formed. I would just say, like anything, when there's big changes like that, there's growing pains. Things need ironing out, and like anyone, you have to just work at it, right? Everyone's professional. We work on the scenes, and we have to. No one's rude. Everyone keeps it amicable. Me personally, I have a good laugh with all departments.
Okay, awesome. And but would you say that there has been a little bit of a friction between the departments?
Could you ask me the question one more time, so Junior?
Yeah, would you say there's been a bit of friction between the departments?
No comment.
Okay, that's okay. I'm gonna move things on to something which is obviously ongoing at the moment. We're currently in a state of emergency, probably for the past week now, due to what's going on over at the Bolingbrook. Do you have much say on what's going on over there right now?
What are my opinions on what's going over and what they're calling fucking Cleveland?
Yeah.
I've got something. I've got a message to you, Clevelanders. If you're living or operating out of Cleveland, just hand yourself in. What you're doing is wrong, disruptive, and it will come to an end. And then you'll have to pay for your crimes.
It's funny you say that, Dee, because I've got a question here from a anonymous Clevelander, as they like to call themselves. They said, if I do want to hand myself in, where will I go?
So I would have to, direct them towards Director Knight or at least a marshal. I'm pretty sure if you called one of them up, they would do what they could do to facilitate that. And obviously, any other officer would try and help, but we would, if someone called me from Cleveland, I would go directly to the marshals first to take it through them. We've been given very strong directions that it, needs to go through that chain.
Okay, that's good to know. Now we're going to move on to a few questions that I've been asked to ask you, if that's all right, Dee.
Questions to ask me. Say that one more. You go what?
Questions that I've been asked to ask you. I think that makes sense, right?
From other people.
Yeah, from the community. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Let's do it.
Yeah. So the first one is from let me see here, anonymous.
Oh, yay!
I've seen people calling you a Make-A-Wish sergeant. How would you respond to that?
I've never heard anyone call me that. But if they did, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinions. Was that from a law enforcement officer or a civilian?
They've decided to remain anonymous at this time, so I don't think it's fair for me to comment.
Okay. Well, I would just say, what do we think makes a good leader? I would argue it's their experiences, things that they've been through, so they can help other make good decisions. It's their ability to lead in times of high stress and urgency. It's their ability to do things that have not been done, right? Being able to work in the unknown. A bunch of my accolades prove that I've been there, done that, got multiple T-shirts. So yeah, I would say, before you judge me, look at what I've done as a police officer, and then judge me.
Interesting. All right, that's a good response. And they've got a follow-up question for you here, actually.
Yeah, okay.
What is RS and PC?
Junior, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not getting into that.
They actually have a response to your answer there.
Do you know what?
They said you're a joke. You knew you wouldn't be able to answer it anyway.
I'm going to guess that's Tyler Peters.
I'm not able to comment on that at this time.
I got it right. I thought I was right. Okay. Me and Peters have been working on our relationship. He's a good guy. I've got a lot of respect for him.
And now we have a question here from Frank Scaletta, actually.
Oh, Frankie, baby. Oh, man. Frankie Kenny used to make me laugh so much, man.
He asks, is there much difference between gang and PD life?
Yes. Yeah, there is. Lots different. There's a lot different. Obviously, there's a bunch of rules to follow and a moral standpoint that you have to think about as an officer. As a criminal, you can just do what the fuck you want, to be blunt. But I'm assuming Frank's question was more around the interdepartmental politics, and I would say there are some similarities in the way that some people, suck up to the powers that be, and some don't.
Okay, that's good to know. It's good to know. And a couple of questions to me to finish off, Dee. Who would you like to nominate to come on the podcast next?
Not just because she's my OG, but I think Hayley Maxwell would be a good one, given she's just been appointed chief of ODPD. And if not Maxwell, maybe another interesting one. Actually, no, just Maxwell. I'm not even doing that.
Feel free to add one more. We're happy to take 2 nominations, Dee.
Maybe Carmine Costello. He's obviously going through some stuff.
Interesting. Why Carmine?
Have you met Carmine?
Yeah, I've met Carmine, but why do you think now's a good time?
I just think he might have some stuff he wants to talk about.
Okay, that's no. And finally, before we wrap up, who is Dee today in one sentence?
Who is Dee today in one sentence? He's not the friend or police officer you want. He's the friend or police officer you need. And that sometimes means I'm a good guy, not a nice guy.
That's some powerful stuff.
Have you been struggling to find your place in the community? Come down to the ODPD and become part of our dysfunctional family. You know what? We'll take everyone, even the ugly.
That brings an end to the first episode of Junior Talks. Really hope you enjoyed. Big shout out to the network who obviously helped promote and advertise and actually make this whole thing happen. A massive thank you for Dee for coming on and let me chat shit for the best part of an hour, and hope you all enjoyed.